with your host, Jesse Tenor.
Good Sunday morning to you and welcome into Capitol View. I'm Jesse Tenor. We're just over 24 hours away from learning who will be the next nominee to the U.S. Supreme Court. We'll show you how Arkansas lawmakers are viewing that choice as it relates to abortion rights in this state. And later, one lawmaker sharing his plan for criminal justice reform. Hear why he says this is a personal matter for him. But we begin with a new state policy now officially going into effect. People who get Medicaid coverage are now required to prove they're working, trying to work, or in school. Joining me in studio to talk about that and much more is Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So let's get into this work requirement a little bit. I know the Kentucky ruling came down, and of course a lot of people are putting those eyes on Arkansas since we were the first to implement it, saying, well, how will it affect us? The governor has said, really not much, but where do you stand?
Well, I think that, first of all, we have to take a step back and look at the federal opinion. The federal district court judge struck down the Kentucky work requirement. What does that mean for us? Well, the truth is, it may not mean much for us because that was a specific set of facts. That's a U.S. District Court judge, not in Kentucky, but in Washington, D.C., who had this case before him. And I have to say, he's a President Obama appointee. And if you look at some of the language that he used in the case, it was very clear that he was dead set on striking that down. I don't personally think that that particular opinion would survive appeal, the D.C. Court of Appeal. I don't think it would survive appeal if it made it to the Supreme Court. So I think it's one judge on one case, and I think that what we have is factually may be distinguishable, but I also don't think the law of that opinion is going to have an impact on our particular case. I think the governor's done a good job of laying this out. I think it's responsible to have that work requirement. As you know, it's not just work. If you're getting education or training, and then obviously that for people who are unable to perform those things, there's an exemption for that. There has been, for some people who don't have internet access, difficulty registering or whatever, but having spoken with the folks at DHS, the Department of Human Services, they are making provision so that folks who can't get internet access, there are other ways to make sure they're in compliance or giving them the appropriate amount of time. But I think it's absolutely a good way of approaching this when people are going to be benefiting from government support. I think it's absolutely fine to require, in fact, it's a good thing to require work or school or something productive if people are physically able.
Something else we've seen this week is the House Minority Leader here in Arkansas sending a letter to the Speaker, a second letter, kind of more pointed this time, asking him to call a House caucus together to at least discuss the removal of Representative Mickey Gates. That, of course, comes after his arrest, and he's being accused specifically of not failing to pay taxes for years. And I know the governor and the attorney general, when you ask them about this, they fall on opposite sides. So where do you see this? Does he need to resign now?
Yes. Here's the deal, though. When this first happened, I wanted to get the full story. So I picked up the phone and I called him. And it was clear to me that although there may be a few facts in dispute, generally speaking, the facts that were in the press are the facts. And this is unfortunately something that's been going on for a long time. I've known Mickey and worked with Mickey, but clearly he's got to get his affairs in order and deal with this. And here's the other thing. Tax reform is critically important to our state. We are surrounded by neighboring states whose tax codes are more attractive and they make them more competitive for jobs. So we need to be able to reform our tax code. If you are a legislator who has had this sort of problem, how can you speak with moral authority on the issue of taxation? Well, the answer is you can't. And that's a major deal for me and I think for the state.
On that note, it's like you knew what I was going to ask you next. The Tax Reform and Relief Task Force, recently, I know that before they began their work, you sent a letter to them kind of saying what you would like to see. Now that they've kind of come out with these 3 separate proposals that they at least want to look to moving forward, was there one in particular that stood out to you, or where do you stand kind of right now?
Here's the issue. Tax relief is a critical part of the equation, and you can't have tax relief until you first identify savings in spending. So instead of rearranging where the tax money comes from, I'd like to see less tax money taken from the taxpayer. So that's why I believe what the Governor's Transformation Advisory Board is doing, looking for efficiencies, looking for places to do more in state government with less money, spending less money. A state government that provides better services but does it for less. People are used to hearing about getting less for less. I'm talking about getting more for less, right? We've cut my staff in half in my office and our budget by 16%, but I feel like we're doing more than ever. So what I would like to see first is an identification of where all the savings are. Then we know we're going to reduce taxes. And I'm writing I've been working on an op-ed, for example. We had this internet sales tax case come down that says that we can now start collecting sales tax from out-of-state retailers on their sales. That brings fairness to the market for brick-and-mortar companies and businesses, Main Street and what have you. What I say is, hey, let's make sure that when we do that and bring fairness to the market, we also keep fairness for the taxpayer. What that means is whatever windfall we get from this decision, we need to turn that into tax reductions. So we need to either reduce sales tax by that amount or some other tax level. The bottom line is I think state government taxes too much and spends too much. And that's why, in my view, Governor Hutchinson has worked hard to reduce the tax burden since he's been in office. And now the Transformation Advisory Board is working on finding how we spend less.
How should the state go about implementing the internet sales tax? I know there's kind of some differing things. You know, should legislation be passed? Should we wait to see what happens on a federal level? What do you think?
Well, I do think now we have the opening after the Supreme Court decision to address this at the state level. But there are some caveats. Number one, as I said, we've got to make sure you can call it a new tax. You can say it's not a new tax because it's already on the books.
Sure.
But as a practical matter, people will be paying a tax they didn't previously pay. Okay? So I think we ought to reduce tax rates by the amount that we see in a windfall. For example, let's say that we start increasing sales tax revenue or tax receipts by $100 million a year to the state. Well then, based on that, we need to reduce the sales tax rate or some other tax rate so that by that amount. That's one thing. The other part is compliance. We don't want a situation where the compliance burden for smaller businesses in particular, the computer software, whatever's necessary, the compliance burden is put on the private sector. The government needs to bear that burden. They need to figure out a way to make it reasonable. And also, we don't need a situation where every time somebody tries to sell a craft or something on the internet, we've got tax collectors chasing them down because they sold, they sold some one-off something. I mean, we've got to have common sense in the process.
And really quick, too, before we go, just a quick announcement. You're actually going to be graduating soon.
That's right.
Thank you. Know that.
Yeah, so in 2 weeks or so, I'm going to be graduating from the U.S. Army War College. It's been a two-year master program, and it's really important to get that done if you're going to have a chance at making colonel, and there's no guarantee. But I'm glad to have it behind me, hopefully. I got a few more weeks, but it's been something, a burden to juggle, but worth every minute of it. And so I'm very proud of that. I'll be going up to the War College, U.S. Army War College in Carlisle Barracks, Pennsylvania, and my family will be able to come up. And I've invited I've invited the local stations if you want to come up and
go on
report.
vacation.
Yeah, you can go to Gettysburg and go to Philadelphia. So
Capitol View from the road again.
Yes, yeah. There you go. There you go.
I'll send you my bill. We'll make it work.
Yep, we'll make it work.
Well, congrats to you, and thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you.
And stay with us. Coming up after a quick break, Arkansas's incarceration rate is consistently among the highest in the country. Hear from one state senator who's looking at reforms and why he says this is personal for him. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Sonic's real ice cream is made with real milk and cream. Customize it with add-ins like real Oreo pieces or 100% real California strawberries. You could say, we're keeping it real. Taste the real ice cream difference at Sonic today.
Every time I see her, I feel the same rush. She's underestimated me. She thought I'd just give up. A debt needs to be paid. And then we can both be free.
Shades of Blue, tonight on NBC.
I was in a wheelchair for 4 years.
The Ninja Warrior story.
She's the strongest woman I've ever met.
You have to see to believe.
I am getting chills right now.
American Ninja Warrior. Monday at its new time, 8/7 Central on NBC.
Injured in a car wreck? Call Moorsport.
Just call 376-9000.
Or get 24-hour service at moorsport.com.
The appointment is free. The call is free. And there's no fee unless we get you money.
Call 376-9000.
What are you waiting for? Call now.
Injured in a car wreck in the Little Rock area? You know what to do. Call me now, 376-9000, or go to moorsport.com. One call, that's all.
In Russellville, and we've got the best deals going on in Arkansas. So find new roads with great savings like 2018 Chevrolet Equinox starting at $19,899. If you're looking for that car that's fun and fuel efficient, come check out the Chevrolet Spark starting at $189 a month. You got to check out this hot deal on the 2018 Chevrolet Silverado and save up to $16,000 off. $16,000 off. So come see us at Phil Wright Autoplex, exit 84, just off 540, Russellville.
Tiger's blood is my favorite flavor of snow cone slush.
My pickle juice slush is great. My mouth is like, rrr, my brain's like, yee.
So you like it?
What did I just say? It's like it's in one sheet and not one fur.
Try Sonic's new snow cone slushes like Bahama Mama and Blue Hawaiian. Hurry in before they're gone.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. As we hit the summer months, a lot of Arkansas lawmakers are looking ahead to 2019 already. We've seen the Governor's School Safety Commission recommend several changes to make campuses statewide more secure and improve mental health for students. I also talked to Representative Aaron Pilkington this week about adding a statewide breast milk bank and expanding access to birth control. This morning, in a Capitol View exclusive, you'll hear for the first time one lawmaker's ideas for criminal justice reform. Joining me in studio is Republican State Senator Trent Garner. Trent, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jesse. Honored to be here today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And so let's get into this plan a little bit. What all do you hope to accomplish with this new criminal justice reform policy?
Well, Jesse, I want to give people a second chance if they deserve it and they earn it. This is something that's personal to me. I have my own second chance story. When I was 15 years old, I watched my mother slowly die of cancer. In fact, the last year of her life, my father was serving overseas in Saudi Arabia with the military, and I was the man of the house, having to take care of her and my mentally challenged brother. After she passed away, Jesse, that pain changed me, and not in a good way. I got in trouble at school. I went out there and got in fights. Ultimately, I even turned to marijuana to help cope with that pain. Jesse, when I was 16 years old, I hit rock bottom. I was pulled over by the police under the influence of marijuana. Now, I deeply regret that. That was a dumb mistake. It's my responsibility, and every single day, I try to, do better than do that. But from that low point, I turned my life around. Less than a year later, I was able to join the military at 17 years old and serve my country as a Special Forces Green Beret. I was able to meet my wife, who, through her love and support, helped me turn my life around. And ultimately, I'm saved by God's grace. I've had that second chance, and I want to give that to everybody I can across the state of Arkansas. So that's why I'm working on criminal justice reform in the state of Arkansas.
What was the turning point for you at that point in your life when you were a teenager?
Well, it was hitting that low point of getting pulled over and getting that kind of trouble. Now, I got really lucky. I got a slap on the wrist by the legal system and was able to turn it around and realize that I had made a mistake and that I better get something better. That's why we need to focus on criminal justice reform. We need to give people who earn it and who deserve it a second chance at life. And there's many different policy considerations we can do that. One, I want to get rid of check the box. Right now, when you try to go get an occupational license from the government, if you have certain kind of criminal background, when you check the box, they automatically disqualify you from working. This is the government telling you you cannot do a job. Instead of doing that, I want to do a case-by-case basis and do a specific crime kind of conviction, do it. Let's explain that for simple terms. If you ever hurt children, you should never be around a school or be a teacher. But if you were 19 years old and you got a drug charge, 20 years later you're done with prison and you got your life turned around, why should we stop you from being a construction worker or a plumber? Next, I want to look at education and workforce training for prisoners who are in prison. Let's give them a skill and a job to come out to. You know, we're going to spend that money one way or the other. We're either going to spend it to help them or spend it just to put them in prison and stop. Next, let's work on bail reform. Low-level, non-violent crimes, let's look how we can make those people not have to spend a significant amount of money, still be able to work and become productive members of society. Specific policy I want to focus on is women in prison who are pregnant and have a drug problem. Right now, we do offer rehabilitation to them, but let's move them to the very top of the list so that they can save themselves, help that baby, and move forward better. And finally, let's look at additional funding for our public defenders. One thing I learned, Jesse, is once you've gone down that road and you earn a reputation, sometimes people can falsely accuse you of things. I think if people have good legal representation, they're able to defend themselves in court, I think that's an excellent way to move forward, and something with my background, the experience I had, I want to do for Arkansas.
I know you're just announcing this, but have you gotten to vet any of these policies with your colleagues to see if some of them would be successful moving forward?
Well, I've talked to many different organizations. We'll build a coalition going forward. At the federal level right now, there's something called the First Step Act, and it's having to do with the federal level criminal justice reform, and it has broad bipartisan support. Jared Kushner, President Donald Trump, and Mr. Charles Koch at the Koch Institute support it. On the other side, we have the Equal Justice Initiative. We have the Urban League. We have liberal commentators like Van Jones who are supportive of it. It's a bipartisan effort, I think, that can make a difference. And the reason why is simple. We are a forgiving people in the state of Arkansas. If somebody has served their time and they're trying to turn their life around, what's the best thing we can do is to keep them out of prison. Give them a job, give them skill, give them the ability to do it. I heard a statistic that I think puts a fine point on this. 90 to 95% of all our prisoners are going to get out of prison at some time. How do we want them returning back to society? We want them to return back and do the right thing. Let's make sure we give them that second chance if they deserve it and they earn it.
Something that I think is timely this week, too, that kind of goes along with that is helping some of these low-level offenders with mental health issues. Instead of going to prison, going to those crisis stabilization units. And since we just saw one here open in the capital city, would you support trying to at least allocate funding for one more, up to 4 more of these crisis stabilization units across the state?
Yeah, Jesse, that was Senate Bill 136, which I supported through the Senate last session. It's creating those centers across the state of Arkansas. Also, we did some prison reform on how we actually put violent criminals in there, make sure they can get out and have the bed space. So that's something I would support. My big effort now is to try to get one in South Arkansas. I think we did the initial batch of them. There's some more in the pipeline to do. I'd love to see one in every part of the state, so that we have another option for those people with drug problems or those people with mental issues, so that they can enter into getting helped and make sure they get back on track. So that's something I would be supportive of. Obviously, I have to look at the cost of it in the long term, but if that'd be another big part of criminal justice reform moving forward.
And like you mentioned, too, the South needs it when you look at the map, because Pulaski County is the southernmost county, I think, right now. So
I think there was some initial figuring out how the county is going to fund it and how it's actually going to work. And now that we've had these tests few go through, I think you'll see more of an effort on the southern part and all across the state to get these crisis centers. I think they're a wonderful way to move forward. We got to make sure that people can earn a second chance and deserve a second chance, we give it to them.
Let's talk about, too, something else that's going on in your chamber. I know that there's this pretty big ethics overhaul going on in response to what's been, coming out as far as, bribery allegations and things of that nature. And so what do you think of the committee's work so far? Concerns moving forward at all? What do you kind of think of the ethics proposal as it stands?
Well, I think we took the first step when we passed the Senate ethics rule a couple of weeks ago. We did extensive work on that to kind of get the language of it right, to make sure we don't punish our part-time legislators who do have a career outside of the legislature, but also make sure we restore public trust to the people of Arkansas. And honestly, it's been betrayed. You have to look at any newspaper and see the convictions coming through. That saddens me, and that does not need to be what this institution is about.
And then, of course, people are looking at Senator Jeremy Hutchinson. You know, no one's really calling for him to resign, but then some people have been drawing a parallel to, of course, what you've been very vocal about, which is Judge Wendell Griffin and his impeachment process. I know this past week, a court did side the Eighth Circuit. They did say that he's not able to sue the 7 justices for removing him from hearing death penalty cases. And so I was just wondering where you stand with this whole impeachment call against Griffin while it's not happening for Jeremy Hutchinson.
Well, they're 2 separate cases. First, Senator Hutchinson hasn't been formally indicted on anything. You know, we don't need to set the precedent that people can make accusations and then you're removed from the Senate. I believe in due process, and while this isn't, you know, a criminal matter at this time, before we make that determination, we need to make sure that every part of the law goes forward. As for Judge Griffin, that's a separate case because he violated the judicial code that they have, which is a separate kind of track to go down. I believe Judge Griffin should be impeached. I'm working on the rules to actually put that procedure in place in the Senate. Right now, we have no formal way of actually dealing with it if the articles of impeachment happen in the House. I'm going to put the groundwork to do that for anybody, not just Judge Griffin. As these kind of cases become more prevalent, as we see more public officials act out, we need to have that ultimate punishment there if it's needed. Judge Griffin, you know, I was happy to see his court case. His court case went forward like it is. I'm not part of that process. I still call for his impeachment for his actions a year ago plus whenever he did that in front of the court. I think that's a biased action. He cannot act fairly while on the bench.
Okay, so yeah, a lot going on ahead of 2019, but Senator Garner, I appreciate you coming on the show to hash out a little bit of your plan.
Well, thank you, Jesse, for allowing me to tell my story today.
Of course. And stay with us. When we come back, all eyes on the nation's capital as we wait to see President Trump's choice to replace Anthony Kennedy on the Supreme Court. Hear reaction from state and federal lawmakers on the possibility that Roe versus Wade may be overturned. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Hi, I'm Missy Gibson. At John Gibson Auto Sales, we offer our customers the opportunity to buy almost any vehicle. We have over 900 cars, trucks, SUVs, motorcycles, ATVs, campers, performance trailers, and boats. We will finance your purchase in-house regardless of your credit history. You can actually make your purchase from home or on the go. Simply go online to johngibsonautosales.com and take a virtual tour of our inventory. We call it shopping made easy. See you soon at John Gibson Auto Sales, in person or online.
At Arkansas Custom Iron Doors, we can make your dream front door a reality. If you're tired of constantly painting your door or looking at a faded wooden entrance, we have you covered. Our knowledgeable staff can assist you with every step of the process, from measuring to door style and finish to glass and handle choices. Whether you are building a home or remodeling an existing home, wanting a wine cellar door, or for a commercial property, we are here to help. Call us today, stop by our showroom, or browse online. Arkansas Custom Iron Doors. If you can dream it, we can custom build it.
You don't reach a milestone of 50 years in business without having a passion for what you do, taking care of the customer and valuing your product. And at Allen Tillery Chevrolet Buick GMC, that's exactly how we achieve that goal. Hi, I'm Allen Tillery. For over 50 years, the car business has been in my blood, and it runs through the whole family. We want to take care of you, be it service, state-of-the-art body shop, or your next vehicle. So come join the Allen Tillery family. That's Allen Tillery Auto in Hot Springs.
Try Tilco's Tasty Treats Dark Roast Coffee, the world's healthiest weight loss coffee.
My coffee has helped me lose weight, reduce cravings, and improve my mental clarity.
If you're looking to lose weight or earn an extra income, check us out online at tilcostastytreats.com.
Why should you call Rainwater Holt & Sexton? Fairness. Often what the insurance company says is fair is different from what we say is fair. And it's a difference that matters. The insurance industry's own data says that on average, people who don't have a lawyer get paid less. That's why we're here. We'll fight to get you more. We're Rainwater Holt & Sexton. Let us help you weather the storm.
Wayne Smith Trucking in Morrilton wants to take the time to say thank you to not just our drivers, but all truck drivers out there, traveling thousands of miles from your family every day. Think about it. If you bought it, a truck brought it. So thank you from Wayne Smith Trucking in Morrilton.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. U.S. senators on both sides of the aisle are gearing up for the start of a fight over the U.S. Supreme Court. President Trump says he'll announce his choice to replace Justice Anthony Kennedy in a primetime address tomorrow night. Democrats believe the president is aiming to overturn decades-old cases that make abortion legal nationwide. Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton saying tonight that the nominee's opinion on abortion rights will not be the key issue for him.
You want to focus on judicial philosophy and their understanding of the role of the Supreme Court in our system of government.
But while most Republicans in the U.S. Senate shy away from focusing specifically on Roe versus Wade, the fight over abortion rights continues here in Arkansas. This week, a federal judge ruled once again that medication abortions can continue. Capitol View's Victoria Price talked to one lawmaker who says he's sensing a larger shift that could mean an eventual end to all legal abortion in this state.
And the fate of medication abortions in Arkansas has been decided, or at least for now.
We're very thrilled.
Monday, U.S. District Judge Christine Baker once again blocked the state's law restricting pill-induced abortions. Her ruling came roughly 30 minutes after her previous restraining order against the law expired.
It demonstrates that the court understands the irreparable harm that this causes to women in Arkansas.
In 2015, lawmakers passed a bill requiring that abortion pill providers contract with doctors who have hospital admitting privileges. It effectively banned medical abortion statewide, leaving just one clinic that could perform the surgical procedure.
Our supporters are with us, and we will continue to fight back on any future restrictions.
Despite Baker's ruling, those on the pro-life front still see an opportunity to gain some ground. State Rep Bob Ballinger says he's working on legislation that would outright ban all abortions in Arkansas, except when pregnancy poses a mortal threat to the mother.
It seems like that ought to be a decision between a couple and their doctor.
Ballinger believes the public's disapproval of abortion continues to grow.
I think that we're seeing that.
And he's hopeful the law of the land will follow.
On the medication abortion ruling, Attorney General Leslie Rutledge has appealed Judge Baker's decision to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals. And we're back to wrap it all up after this. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
For your every need, our friendly, knowledgeable staff is located at 2020 Land Trip Road, right off 167 and 67 in Sherwood. Interstate Battery, every battery for every need.
Injured in a car wreck? Call Mooresbark.
Call 376-9000.
376-9000.
We'll work hard to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy. Just call 376-9000.
Just call 376-9000.
What are you waiting for? Call now.
Injured in a car wreck in the Little Rock area? You know what to do. Call me now, 376-9000, or go to mooresbark.com. One call, that's all.
Have you RK4 today lately?
It all started when a bondsman was trying to take someone into custody on felony warrants, and honestly, things then took a turn. The man shot at the bondsman at this apartment complex.
Weekdays from 4 to 7. You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
That does it for today's show. We, of course, want to know your thoughts on all of the issues we discussed during Capitol View, among many others affecting our state. So just make sure you keep using that Capitol View on Twitter and Facebook, both during and after the show, so we can continue the conversation together. We're back with an all-new Capitol View next week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.